G'day guys, it's Al here from Al and Immo Handmade, and today I'm going to show you how to build this sick surfboard rack. You! This project has been a long time in the making and we've finally ticked it off our list of things to do. You can download the plans free at alandimmohandmade.com.au. We decided to round the edges on ours and have provided instructions to do this. It is a little trickier and is definitely worth having a go if you want to challenge yourself. However, if you want a quick and easy project, skip the routing and just go with the straight edges. Let's get started. For this job, we used a handful of materials we had lying around the workshop. I ripped down scrap hardwood for the main frame. I used some old floorboards for the back rails and an offcut of ply and an old yoga mat for the base, and Immo picked up some hardwood dowel for the pegs. The first thing I did was cut all of my pieces to the right length. I then cut my ply base and yoga mat to the right width and then stapled the yoga mat on nice and tight to the ply base. I then ripped a groove in the base of the bottom rails which will sit snug on top of the base and hold the yoga mat in place. This piece is going to sit in our lounge room, so we wanted to come up with a cool design that looked great in our house. We chose to do 2 triangles for the frame, which meant we had to work out the right angles to cut. I used a circular saw to cut the sharp angle on the vertical piece, as my drop saw doesn't cut that angle. Once I had my angles cut, I checked the joins and marked where to stop my router, as we wanted to round off the edges and give it that cool design feature. I routed the inside edges using a bullnose edge bit, making sure to stop where I had marked. This step is a little tricky for a beginner. Do some test runs on some scrap timber until you feel confident using the router. Now that my inside edges were routed, I glued and screwed all 3 sides of each triangle together nice and flush. Then I routed the outside edges, making sure to be careful of where I had pre-drilled for the screws. With my triangles now complete, I sanded them to 120 grit, finish, and moved on to the back rail. First thing I did was mark out where I will be cutting the holes on my front rail. We chose to use a 35mm dowel as the pegs to hold up the boards. I then marked the screw pattern in the back rail to join to the front rail and drilled my countersinks. Once joined, I planed the top and bottom edges flush and smooth and routed the bullnosed edge on the front edges. I then sanded the joined back rail before adding the pegs. I cut my dowel at 360mm for the pegs and hand sanded off any rough cut edges. To attach them, I pre-drilled, glued and screwed them in tight from the back, checking with my square to make sure they were even. Once the back rail was finished, it was time to attach all the pieces together. I first screwed the base to the 2 sides and made sure it was nice and tight into the checkouts. Then I stood it up and attached the back rail. I then clamped it all in position and screwed it together. Now I had a fully constructed board rack. I removed the base and Immo sealed the frame with the Fitter's Satin Finish Hard Wax Oil. This gives it a nice natural look. Leave it to dry and then fix the base back onto the frame and you got yourself a fresh board rack. You! Time to show off the quiver, bruh. You can find the plans for this project and others at alandimmohandmade.com.au. You can also follow us on Instagram to keep up to date with our new projects. Thanks for tuning in, peace out and have fun.